Good morning and welcome in everybody. As we get into the morning's update, let me wipe this screen down. It's a little bit, that's better. As we get into this morning's update, we'll get into some more traditional programming now that the school year is back upon us. My son's in school full time today. He's in elementary special needs, but he's exceeding expectations as far as being in a regular class, even with some help with the IEP. But he's definitely a very smart kid, and he's nonverbal, so it adds to it a little bit. But he definitely he's been doing great, so we're proud of him. But this morning, a couple cool things. One, XDC was listed on Kraken yesterday, so I hadn't used Kraken in a while, but I decided to use it, but with the Kraken Pro version. And that's a great way to gain exposure to XDC. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it came down to that 7.5 area. There's no way of knowing if it's going to break down even farther. Right now, the support structure seems to be right around. Let's take this into the daily. You know, if you come down here to 7.4 and break down, but it's been on a little bit of a downward turn. The stochastic is breaking up into a more bullish scenario. We're trying to flow in the moving average convergence divergence in the monthly, in the daily. Weekly, we're correcting, but we're back down to the mid-tier range. This is where you could expect a bounce here. That 7.5 area is important because we came down there. Could have extended down to 7.2, but it ended up holding here. I think it was 7.5. What was the bottom here? Right around 7.53-ish. But that held, and now we can look at this possibly. If this can hold, this could be the start of a reversal now. And getting the listing with Kraken, I think this is the start of a few with the Tier 1 exchanges. And the Tier 1 exchanges, in my opinion, are the ones in the USA that have full clarity, and you can actually use them. So this is, to me, this is a good thing. And I decided to do it with Kraken Pro, so I wouldn't have to pay as many fees. And I was buying it, especially yesterday when we had the initial push and then it dropped down for some reason. I just started to do it. Haven't said much about it. That's just what I'm doing because I don't want to. I feel like sometimes people just jump when I jump at something, but XDC is definitely one that's been on the radar, and it was sad when that happened with BitUnix that we couldn't, or at least I couldn't hold it because I don't like Uphold, nor do I trust it because of past events. But yeah, so I went that route, and it's just going to be accumulation upon accumulation for going forward for some time now until it gets over 10 cents. So hopefully we get that bigger drop, and then I can put in even deeper. But we'll see what happens here. So it's nice to have that back in the portfolio. Something I wanted to touch on in the beginning. Right now, we could have hit that support structure. We hit it twice. Got a few resistance hits up over the top. And now we'll see, because I can argue that we are in something like this. And if we take the wicks out, you would be in this descending wedge, it pretty much looks like. And then you could say, well, if we finally get to the breakout here, because it very well could be. I wanted to save this for the live. I feel like if I say too much in the Telegram, I've noticed people just don't want to come to the lives or the updates. So, and then it throws the flow off. So I appreciate all the support and everybody in the Telegram, but I really need everybody to be in the lives and the updates. Like, this is just an update. We'll get back to these in the morning after I drop my son off at school and get everything situated. But right now for XDC, 8 cents. If we can hold this 806 and break out, we're looking for a push up to 9.7. So that's about a 20% move. So I'd say the accumulation within this pattern would be in this area would be fantastic. But this is obviously from looking at it from the body, not the wicks, from the over the top in the wicks at least. But if you look at it from a wick perspective, then obviously you can see like you want to break this over the top resistance, because this will just be a layer that if you extended it out from the old wicks, that it could get hopped out at, stopped at. But that's at 8.7, so that's what you'd be looking for. So with XDC, opportunity for sure. I think it's a big opportunity when it comes versus XRP. And I can only hope that Kraken in the future will put IOTA on the chopping, or on the restoration list and add it here. But my advice to you would be use Kraken Pro. It'll cost you like $45 a year. But the fees are noticeably cheaper, at least on the buy. The sell, it's probably going to be brutal, but I'm not looking to sell for a very long time. Like I have a plan with the R3 corridor, like you all know. I have a plan with the mainframe token for the ISO or the IoT, which is IOTA, but unfortunately right now that plan is a wash. You know, XRP we've got for its reasons. You know, we've got Algo for its reasons. I like a few of the Oracle. Some people don't necessarily like them as much as I do. But I like Band and XYO for the data oracles. But there's a few others. Like, I like a few others as well. You know, there's a lot on this list. Like HBAR, I like. VChain, I like. But I just have a hard time believing that HBAR is going to be more expensive than Algo or IOTA. So with them being apples to apples and being the same price, there's no way I'm buying HBAR over Algo. I know I might offend people, but like buying HBAR at 5 cents is one thing, and just holding that, you know, and having 10,000. But anything above, I can't do it. Like, I wish I could, but I don't know. I have a big plan here, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to go on. A little less about me and more into the charts. XRP right now, we'll get into that. I know it took 6 minutes, but I try to open up each and every one of these if you're new. I started this March 24th of 2021. We've been here every single day, bar none. So it's been a spectacular thing to be able to do this in front of all of you in real time. But good morning. 10:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Wednesday, September 3rd. 2025. I'm XRP future millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is for entertainment purposes only. If you decide to make a move, buy something, sell something, own it, or just watch what I do to learn from my mistakes and or for my good fundamentals. And at the very least, you can learn some technical analysis day after day for free. And eventually, I promise you, it will ring true and it'll seep in. XRP right now, we're set up in a very similar fundamental setup. Almost, I wouldn't say it's the same as XDC, but I mean, you've got a tightening, narrowing range. And right now, we held that 277. We're looking for a push out over 298. We were severely oversold in the daily for a couple days, so it makes sense that we're having this push out. 4 hourly is overbought now, but we're trying to see if we can get through this very deep pocket between 289 and 292 and ultimately try to roll through 298. If we can get through 298, it's not 389 anymore, but it's somewhere around this range, 375 at 380. But you'd have a short stop at 330. But there's a lot to be said about the way this pattern's set up. Nice big W reversal here, which is nice to see. Really nice to see. And you know, there's ways to look at this pattern slightly different still. Like, we can still look at it like this and just say, yeah, we might have made that lower low in regards to if we want to say we're on a higher lows here. But technically, we haven't given it back because we came right back into the formation. So, I mean, it almost makes sense so that we can look at it from a grand scale to just look at it like that. You know, now that we're getting to the end of this pattern, there's no reason to, like, because we've already got the other chart. We can look at it like this, expand it out, look at the different ranges, look at the different scenarios. But we have to have one that's universal, where we don't have the speculative, and we just have the far reach, where the data points, and this is what the data shows us in real time if you look at it in the 4 hourly. And this is closing to where the apex moment's going to end up being by September 10th. September 15th if you extend it out just so, I believe if you extend this out just, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So let's just put it all the way to the end. Yeah, that's fine. I can live with that. September 12th. Ride the back end to mid-September. So, you know, this could be the month. I know it's always bearish in September, but with the right fundamentals, if these actually do hold and break out, this could be the year where we don't go red in September. We have rate cuts coming in if it does it properly. Now, I have a theory here of what's happening, and I think if anybody remembers like the old days when you had like the crisis with the treasuries when too many were handed out and yada yada, they were too overinflated, or when we had the dot-com bubble when there was too many of the same kind of companies, and some survived, but most of them went away. I think what's happening here is they have a big ploy to de-dollarize not just the USA, but everybody. They want to go digital. So what's the easiest way, at least in the USA, to do this? One, you have businesses leveraging out their shareholders with common stock so they can buy Bitcoin. Then you have these same businesses leveraging out against their Bitcoin they own that's up, to reinvest into their common share. And then you have businesses that are buying. You have corporations, you have governments, you have different entities. And we've seen this before. Now, what happens the first time that because a lot of these companies are taking out loans in the bank for lower interest, thinking they can out earn it. What happens the first time there's distress in the market for the banking sector and they deem the distress the crypto volatility or Bitcoin volatility? They will call those loans, even if they're current, and they're going to have to pay them in full. What happens the first time this happens? So I think what they're going to do is they're going to pump Bitcoin up over time, and we're going to see 150, 175. We might even see more. I don't know. Because this is a big inverse head and shoulders. And for XRP, this is a big inverse head and shoulders. And the way that this is set up, if and when this does actually break out, we already know the target. It's actually playing out. We should come up near that $5. Well, this says 486. But, actually, you know what? I want to keep this just because we can see this this is a let's not over exaggerate target. And this is one more in real, but look how high that even brings us. And that's just rebuilding this over time. And that's on the frigging handle breakout. This would be phenomenal. That would just be the handle move. And then overall, you'd get up to 549 or 669. There's a couple small differences in the pattern. If you're new, here's the other chart that we've had together. Well, that's the wick off. But here's the one we've had together for a very long time. Actually, which chart is it? I got so many damn charts. Well, because I don't like to delete the charts. Oh, there it was. Whoops. Yeah, it's this one. I forgot. So, 549 and 638. Those were the targets coming off of the cup and handle before this bull market for XRP. And now we can see it's kind of building into something a little bit deeper too, which is nice. Because we're getting some short-term confirmation, assuming that this handle, it's almost like the cup and handle of silver. If this handle breaks out, this is even pointing to in the short term, that 489 mark or 488. And then the micros, if you push out, we've already seen those targets, and it gets pretty interesting. Once you get past 330 and 380 area, it gets pretty hot pretty quickly. So we obviously understand the downward risk. But I have a feeling, and this might not be yet, we still might have to break down, but overall, my gut feeling says they're going to pump these markets up extraordinarily, continue to have all of these entities invest in Bitcoin and crypto, and then when they do the massive rug pull, it leads into the de-dollarization of the physical dollar, and then all of a sudden we're in a digital dollar because everything goes upside down. That is my expectation. So I think we do have one last move here. For us, if you're looking for this from a sign of wealth and not being guided into slavery, basically, through the digital assets, you've got one more move until Trump's out of office in 28, because that's when all of the regulations and everything get put into play. So we've got a big opportunity here leading up to that time period. I'll continue to try to be transparent. Yes, I might look bearish overtone in the micro, and I have to put it in the titling because of the way the market is. But opportunity, like I've said, nonetheless. And if you find your areas, you buy into those areas. But then you have to have the accumulation mindset. If you're buying an asset right now, you're trying to buy through alt season. Real alt season. And Bitcoin right now, this, you have to remember, can all be bullshit right now. Because it had to come up to 114.5, 740, 114,574. We talked about it over the weekend. Like, that's the first area. And then it could even come all the way up to 120,000 and get rejected. That gives us some top-end potential for some of these altcoins, even if we do ultimately get rejected and fall through. So just remember that. Yes, Bitcoin is breaking down out of a rising wedge, but we still haven't got no confirmation. So let's just see if we can just break back up here. We get some real positive pressure here, because that can very much happen, especially with the looming rate cuts coming. I expect at some point this to push up pretty damn hardcore. It's just a matter of where. But it's spectacular because we're setting up. Then nonetheless, we're setting up. And I'm going to take full advantage with XDC now that it's on Kraken. I'm going to take full advantage of some of these other ones. And yeah, I can share a link for Kraken, but I mean, do I really need to? You know, and especially like in the Telegram, if you're trying to share links for people to trade on the platform, just remember you open yourself up to liability if something goes wrong because you are pushing a platform on somebody, and if something happens, if they are, you know, manipulative enough, they might go the legal route and try to do something. So be very careful when you push an exchange, even if it's viable right now. People do things in different ways, so that's why I don't usually want links shared in regards to exchanges in the Telegram. I know one was shared yesterday, but I really don't want that to happen in the future just because of liability reasons. But anyhow, I don't have no links shared for it now, but I'll consider it. But yeah, just you know the route to take. You know, you understand what can happen. You understand the risk of trading crypto, but this is something that has happened. It's been listed on a tier 1 exchange in the USA. I don't trust Uphold because of what happened to Julie. You all know the story. They have 1,000 of her XRP locked up since 2023 in the beginning of the year. Fortunately, she was able to take off everything else, a large amount of XRP for her. But that was a big black eye in the whole crypto thing. So for her with the Uphold, so it was not cool. So anyhow, that's that. And then as far as XRP, we talked about what we need to with XRP. We looked at XTC. We looked at Bitcoin. Now Ethereum's up for 3.2%. And 4,742 to me seems like a logical retest of what could be a rising wedge breakdown. But you got to retest it if it is. So we should have some upward volatility at least through the end of the week before the weekend, or at least into Thursday, you would think. But if we can get back over the top here, and let's just say we expanded into something a little bit nicer here, because you don't know until you get extended up, you know, the evidence. But maybe we just ended up in a channel now and it wasn't a rising wedge, and with the new evidence. So now we've opened up a layer of support, we've opened up a layer of resistance, and now if we can get over the top, we know what we can end up pushing through here. But now if we're in a channel, just remember, the motive has updated, and if you can stay ahead of these charts, you know, you can stay ahead of this. You know, that's exactly how I'd look at it. Now if you can get over the top, and the funny thing is the target's not going to change all that much. It might give you an extra $100, but it doesn't change that much. The variable only changes because now you've got a slightly different setup and you've got slightly different resistance and supports. But this, if it reverses here, and you can see if I turn on the moving average convergence, divergence, and the stochastic RSI, money's flow, or the moving average convergence, divergence flowing green now, pushed bullish. That's a beautiful sign in the short term. Daily time frame, we're very oversold, so we should have every ability to run up to 4,700 here and plus. And if we can get up over the top and we make a move up here at, let's see what this would be. Let me just clone this. Because now if this is a new run up here, now you could be looking at a push to 5K. We talked about it before, but now we've got real viability here of why it can happen. So this should be something spectacular to watch here. Like, this is going to be a photo finish in all regards. And like, I would still like to keep this short-term rising wedge or whatever, however you want to look at it, what we called it. Because it does, I want to make sure, and we'll give it a little bit more, because I do like it up here. I know in the daily you can do it a little bit lower, but I just like, well, I guess we could do it like that. Well, I'm okay with it with it coming out a little bit farther with the newer evidence, so I'm okay with that. So let's just do it like this. It'll slightly change this. But we already know the underneath, so we won't put so much. So like that. 4,631 is where we should look at first layer. Followed by 5,064. And then if we can get out of it, you know, you're looking at something more like that 5,772 area. But then there's more over the top for Ethereum, 7,841 to be precise. Because if you look at this in a larger time frame, yeah, you still got a huge move if this holds. Like a huge move. So I'm XRP Future Millionaire. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join the over 46,500 subscribers as we're getting closer and closer to 50K. Consider joining Tom's Army to pay it forward. You get the exclusive Telegram for free. That's a perk to it. We had a lot of spammers and so on and so forth mimicking my name and trying to scam our community. So we had to put some principles and some security measures in place. There's 470 plus people in the Telegram. So make sure you join Tom's Army. We started that at like 370 something members. And not everybody's still in there. They joined for a month and then they just cancel the membership, which is fine. But it's use the pay it forward mentality. You give, you get. You give, you get. You get, you give. And then it's a repeated cycle. So if you get something, you give something, you give something, you get something. And then once it revolves around, then you'll understand. A lot of information to be had. Look in my YouTube channel and go under the post section to get the link for the Telegram for members only. If you join Tom's Army, if not, you're not even going to know that post exists. So there is all of that. Thank you all so much for being a very dedicated audience. I appreciate each and every one of you. And please take in heavy consideration to what I've been showing you this morning. And pay attention to the risk involved in trading in crypto, but obviously the rewards as well.